The Edmonton Oilers make a sneaky signing on the blue line as they get closer and closer to the trade deadline. All that and more today as we also recap last night's game against the Colorado Avalanche at Ball Arena in Denver. So today's video, action-packed, lots of things to talk about regarding the Edmonton Oilers and future Edmonton Oilers. But first, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you do so as we are on the road to 3,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed already, folks, what are you waiting for? For any and all Oiler news, Oilers Digest is the place to be. And if you want to save money, KOHO is the place to be, and they are today's sponsor. Are you tired of the same old banking experience? If so, it's time to check out KOHO. KOHO is Canada's leading fintech alternative to traditional banking, designed to help you spend smarter, save better, and even build your credit all in one super and simple, easy-to-use app. KOHO is a Canadian company that offers 4% interest on your entire balance, and this is a non-promotional rate, which means it's one of the highest interest rates in Canada. Yes, with KOHO, you can earn up to 2% cash back on everyday spending like groceries, eating out, in transportation. But it doesn't stop there. KOHO makes building credit easier than ever before, and the average KOHO user sees their credit score rise by 22 points in just 3 months. Plus, there are no hidden fees. You can earn up to 4% interest on your balance and even get a cash advance of up to $250 interest free. KOHO makes managing your money fun and effortless, and the best part is your funds in a KOHO account are insured by the Canada Deposit Insurance Corporation, or CDIC, up to $100,000 Canadian. Are you ready to take control of your finances? Click the link in the description or the pinned comment and use code Oilers20. Again, the code is Oilers20 to get a $20 Canadian dollar reward when you sign up and add $20 to your account. Check them out. And again, thank you to KOHO for sponsoring this video. Again, thank you to KOHO for sponsoring today's video, and you can check them out in the pinned comment down below or also in the description. But without further ado, today's late breaking news with the Oilers. Hip to be square. Yes, they have signed defenseman John Klingberg, a free agent defenseman who formerly played for the Dallas Stars, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Minnesota Wild, etc., etc. As Darren Dreger broke an hour ago, John Klingberg heading to the Oilers. Short, sweet, and simple here from Darren Dreger. There's nothing been linked towards the contract length or how much. Of course, it will probably be a contract similar to what Connor Brown got when he joined the Edmonton Oilers, league minimum, but the chance to make some more money with some performance bonuses. So hopefully Stan Bowman made the bonuses a little harder to achieve, unlike, Ken Holland would skate out on the ice for 5 minutes, and here's an extra $3 million. But when it comes to John Klingberg, from NHL Sid, from Oilers Nation, who, in my eyes, the be-all, end-all for Oiler analytics, and his opinions on this signing. He says, I guess it's not the worst idea in the world to sign Klingberg at League Min and see if he could be a decent 6/7 defenseman. Definitely has much more upside than Josh Brown. That bar is not very high to clear, especially in terms of puck moving. But he'd still like to add a left defenseman that could play next to Emerson and maybe run, and Ekholm Bouchard, and then there's Kulak as your top four. And I think that'd be a pretty solid top four. But with Klingberg, I showed this in another video earlier in the week there with the JFresh chart. Again, defense, not the most, astounding numbers, but the Oilers did not bring him in to play defense. They brought him in to be a solid puck-moving defenseman. Next to Darnell Nurse, I don't think so, but again, if you just, put him on the third pairing, or again, an extra defenseman, what really can go wrong? Again, he hasn't played in a year and a bit with the Toronto Maple Leafs, only played 14 games with 5 assists, but the defensive metrics, again, not his strong suit with back-to-back years with -28, so you got a -15 in there, a -10. You got a +3 there with the Minnesota Wild in 17 games. Again, the Wild, their main motif is defense, and it's kind of hard to, be a minus player on the Minnesota Wild. But Klingberg, again, it's a new John Klingberg. They rebuilt him from the ground up with hip resurfacing on not just one hip, but both. Resurfacing is an alternative to a full hip replacement that involves shaving damaged bone and cartilage from the femur, capping the bone with metal, and popping it back into a lined socket. It's not pleasant, and who knows how long John Klingberg has been playing with this hip pain. Of course, that sort of led him to, being on LTR for the Toronto Maple Leafs a good chunk of last year. So hopefully the new hip resurfacing surgery has made him into, again, a more refined player. But hip resurfacing surgery, very, very risky. The free agent defenseman hasn't played in the league since November 2023 and is trying to become the fifth. Yes, only 5 NHL players have ever had this type of surgery to resume his career after that surgery. Following Patrick Kane, who's been, the most notable out of these 5 players here when it comes to success following the surgery. Jesse Puljujarvi, the Bison King, Nicholas Backstrom, the forward, not the goaltender, and Ed Jovanovski. I know Ed Jovanovski, he had the surgery, came back, and played I believe it was less than maybe, 10, 15 games with the Florida Panthers before calling quits. So, again, for the Oilers, low risk, high reward. If it works out, it works out for them, but if it doesn't, they can easily bury that contract. Hopefully, they can easily bury the contract. But Edmonton's biggest need this season is on the blue line, and the club has already been linked to many of the few names available on the market. While it remains to be seen what Klingberg can bring, the team is essentially getting a free look, and of course, they're getting, Klingberg without having to give up any assets, and for most, view that as a win. But again, I'm sort of, reserving my judgment until we actually see John Klingberg play in the orange and blue for the Edmonton Oilers. But again, it'll be a nice preview before the trade deadline. Of course, hopefully this isn't Edmonton's big fish on the free agent defenseman market, but again, should be, lots of Swedes on the Oilers. You got, Matisse Janmark, Matisse Ekholm, Victor Arvidsson, and John Klingberg. So a mini Team Sweden in Edmonton, much akin to the late 90s and early 2000s when they did have their fair share of Swedes, including Tommy Salo, one that was near and dear to my heart in my childhood. But let's go into the game recap here. Ain't no mountain high enough for the Edmonton Oilers as they completed the second half of a back-to-back in Denver, Colorado, but not without a 5-3 win over the Minnesota Wild at the XL Energy Center. The Oilers winning that season series for the first time in forever, would seem to be like, and many were penciling the Oilers in the Avalanche as a scheduled loss last night as they rolled into Denver at around 3 a.m. in the morning, but the Oilers had other ideas, winning this one by a score of 4-3. A very resilient victory as they were down 3-0 halfway through the first period with goals from the Avalanche, including Logan O'Connor, Nathan MacKinnon, and again, Nathan MacKinnon, the second one there. Sort of turned Evan Bouchard inside out, but that did not deter Evan Bouchard from continuing to have a strong game. Victor Arvidsson off the stick of Josh Manson, getting a huge one before the end of the first period, and after that, it was all Oilers. Brett Kulak with a seeing eye shot from the point, making it 3-2 Avalanche, and then captain Connor McDavid with his 20th of the year, tying this one at 3, and it seemed to be a deadlock. Might see overtime, 3-on-3 Avs Oilers. We've seen it once last year already. But Evan Bouchard, again, had other ideas with a patented Bouch bomb from the point. Haven't seen that too much this season, but at a time like that, it was much needed with assists from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So a huge win for the Oilers. Almost capping off the end of the road trip with a win. Of course, they still have one game on the road. We'll get into that in a little bit. But again, huge wins, huge resilient wins by the Oilers in back-to-back games. Of course, the Edmonton Oilers, after going down 3-0 with the controller there, relax, chill, and they took it absolutely seriously. They're almost playing with their food, almost. But when it comes to the game stats, Oilers taking the shot counter, not by much though, 27-25. The hit counter, I know many care about it, many don't. You'll see the physicality ramp up in the playoffs. But when it comes to mid-January, I don't really care much about that. Oilers losing 5 more faceoffs there, 25-20. Of course, not too often you see the Oilers dominated or even lose the faceoff stats. And both teams not really doing much on the power play. When it comes to the hockey stat card there, Evan Bouchard just a statement game from the young defenseman there, along, with big games, expected games from Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman. I seem to, always point out they have big games against the Colorado Avalanche, sort of carrying that grudge from the 2022 Western Conference Finals when it ended up being a sweep for the Avalanche. But hopefully that was a preview for this upcoming May. And we'll see, Avalanche Oilers in the Western Conference Final yet again. And hopefully it is a little closer when it comes to the more analytics or get deeper into the analytics, of course, Evan Bouchard and Mattias Ekholm, the bona fide first pairing for the Oilers, doing, bona fide first pairing things, right? And then Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman, Nurse, Jeff Skinner with a, again, limited ice time, seems to be in Kris Knoblauch's doghouse, but again, very respectable numbers, of course. The defensive side of his game, not too much to write home about, but he wasn't brought in to play defense. He's brought in to score, and him and Corey Perry in the bottom six, fantastic. And Evan Bouchard, when it comes to going down 3-0, he points out the obvious, but it's good to see him with the media here saying it's not something we necessarily want to do, but we found a way to come back, and we're confident in our group that when we're behind that we can contribute offensively. And not only, contribute offensively, but Stuart Skinner outplaying Mackenzie Blackwood last night. Of course, many Oiler fans were upset that the Oilers did not trade for Mackenzie Blackwood, but when you have Stuart Skinner in the crease when he is hot, there's not a goalie I'd much rather want than Stuart Skinner. And Bob Stauffer with his opinion on last night's game, best win of the season for the Oilers. I'm sure he said that many times throughout the season when it comes to the Oilers, and their best win of the season. Terrific hockey game. The Oilers show a great chin, down 3-0, 12 minutes into the game against a very good team. On the second half of a back-to-back, McDavid and Bouchard, 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points, and Draisaitl 2 assists, and the Oilers 8-1-0 in their last 9 games played, and 23-6-2 since November 9th. Of course, very cherry-picked, but again, it works out in the Oilers' favor. They are probably the league's hottest team. And that just goes without saying. You can see, the only loss was to Pittsburgh, which, in those last 9 games played, which is very, very strange. But of course, any given night in the NHL, anything can happen. And Kris Knoblauch also agrees with that too. He says once you start doubting your system or doubting yourself, the team, your line mates, or whatever, then you're not as effective. We were down 3-0 playing a back-to-back against a very good hockey team, and I just liked how they kept on pushing. And they will have to keep pushing for tomorrow night. Yes, Hockey Day in Canada on CBC, and the Oilers head out west to Rogers Arena there to take on the Vancouver Canucks at 9 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Mountain, which should be an excellent game, of course. The Canucks on the ropes after losing 5-1 to the Los Angeles Kings last night, so hopefully the Oilers can pounce on a Vancouver team that seems to be struggling with their identity, and many of their star players not really knowing what is going on. That is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Klingberg signing. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think the Oilers, should have done something, different and let them go to another team? And also let me know your thoughts on last night's game and tomorrow night's game against the Vancouver Canucks. But we will preview that one tomorrow afternoon to get you set up for that one. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, everybody. It's going to be a great weekend with Oiler hockey tomorrow night in Vancouver. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. I'm Matt.